Okay, welcome into the Spear podcast. We've got a really interesting story for you today because tweeted out last week by the San Jose State official athletics Twitter account was a new design for the basketball team's new courts that are going to be coming out next year. And there was a certain twist, a certain maybe an unexpected thing that happened over this Twitter poll that was sent out. And so Alex has the scoop on what happened and just sort of now maybe the unfortunate side effects of doing some little fun thing that they were trying to do here. So go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, so I wrote an opinion piece on the court designs, and you can see the four on the screen right now. And yeah, so I honestly think most of the designs are really good. The top left one, that's kind of the OG design. That's what we have right now. The top right design, that's the parquet design, a little bit darker toned, but it stays kind of similar to the original, just a different color. The bottom left, honestly, that's my favorite. I like the simplistic look of it. But then the bottom right is kind of where it loses me a little bit, and that's a microchip at the half court, and the circuits kind of all over the court. And honestly, to me, like the court is just doing too much. I think it kind of, if you're a fan, like you're gonna be not like worried about the court, but like the court is just gonna cause so much attention that it's gonna draw away from like the actual games that are played on the court. And again, I like the simplistic one, and again because it looks nice, but it's also not too distracting, which I think the microchip really does. I think it's honestly distracting. But yeah, so we can look at the poll that they did on Twitter, and you would think that the microchip may not be in first, maybe second or third. I personally think it should be in last, but the poll says otherwise, and I'm just completely wrong um, about how I thought people would perceive the court.
This is your choice right here, right? Number
Yeah,
four.
yeah, that was that was I picked the simplistic design.
So
But there you
here are
go.
the results.
Yeah,
Number
so
two was the microchip one.
yeah, so
So
the microchip is leading by a substantial margin, 53%. It's not really close. And honestly, like even if in my mind I wanted to think, okay, maybe people really like it, but it's going to be close, like I would not think that there would be this much of a gap between first and second. And it's honestly kind of mind-boggling to me. Like, I personally don't understand how it has so much love.
well, part of it is we had this little thing, right? So the first part of this is, they sent out a Twitter poll and they made everyone pick. So they have here, there's the official link, here's the official voting link where 53% of the vote went to the microchip design, but they also had an actual one on Twitter. And then they put the microchip design at number 4, and on Twitter it actually got 58% of the vote, which is even more out of 5,000, almost 5,800 votes were tallied in this Twitter poll, and 58% of them went to the microchip design. So that is just kind of incredible. We have here a few comments. One from our very own John Culbertson of the Spear, talking about how it's certainly unique, but just not exactly maybe what we're looking for here. He says it's too busy and distracting for his opinion. Um, but then we also got a few little fan suggestions. So I just wanted to bring this one up for some good Spear content right here. Hashtag get the bread, the Dak court right here. Dak the Duck. And as you can see, you have the bread sponsoring the Spartans as well. And then we just talked about maybe some retro Spartans. If we've got some Spartans from maybe back in the day, they can remember this court that actually went on the San Jose State court. This is actually a real picture that you are looking at, that if you went to San Jose State back in the day, you would see this on the court. So maybe the microchip design isn't that far out as far as we
Yeah,
can tell. Maybe if this is what we are used to having, maybe it's not that crazy. A
that
few more
chord is
comments here.
nasty.
Yeah,
That
it's
chord's nasty.
yeah. There's a few other NCAA carrots. We got the I don't know why this was posted here, but I mean I'm okay with the tree design for Oregon. I don't know about you. It's not the same as a microchip design. It's still a little bad, but it's not all the way there yet, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
I just had to think like if you have four options, you're gonna pick the craziest one in sort of like a Twitter poll or just in general. Like, you know, if it's you're up to your opinion, maybe you just click on the one that's like, oh my god, that's a crazy design. I'll just click it right away. And it became sort of like a silent majority in a way because you know a lot of these Twitter responses are talking about how ugly the microchip is, even though in the same Twitter poll, like picked first. So I'm just wondering here, like you know, where's the discrepancy? So we actually did an Instagram poll of our own to just kind of see, well, maybe this is the popular choice of the four, but when we pick head to head, which one of these court designs actually wins? So we took a Twitter poll and I just real quick blocked out the different ones and had them choose. So as you can see here, head to head between two more sober normal courts here, the parquet design wins right here. That's the Boston Celtics thing. Then we've got the top two court designs. Again, parquet design a little bit more popular. I can see how that would be popular in like an Instagram poll setting, right? It stands out a little bit. Still, I think that your court, Alex, did not win. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Honestly, from what I've seen, a lot of people don't like how simplistic the court is, which I totally get. I'm kind of like a sucker for simplistic stuff, so
Would you
that's
would
why
you
I
be the
like
kind of
it.
guy? Would you be the kind of guy to build your house out of birch wood in Minecraft? Because
No,
that's what this reminds me of.
honestly, no, I was not a birchwood sort of guy. I was more of like an oak sort of guy.
Okay, oak, sturdy oak. I'm into oak as well. That was my choice. This one. So then right here we have a head to head, and the microchip does not have a chance. Another head to head, microchip not even close. One more head to head, microchip barely 30% of the vote. So that just goes to show as soon as you make it into a head to head or anything where you know you actually have to look at the courts a little bit further than just one or 2 second glance. That's sort of the idea here. I think that the San Jose State Spartans, if we're actually going to choose, you know, which court design we're going to put down on the San Jose State court based on a Twitter poll, we should maybe do a little bit more Twitter polling before we
Yeah.
choose probably the scariest design. Now, one more question, Alex, just in your mind, how does a microchip design work on a court? Because it looks great on a picture. Like I see the glowing design and all of that, but I just can't imagine that translating onto an actual like basketball layout, or just in a real life. Like, how would that look at all?
Yeah, I can't really answer that question either. I'm not really sure. I know something that me and Max had talked about. Max was on one of our past podcast episodes. He was saying that maybe it could be like a projection from the top of the event center, and it kind of just reflects off the court. That could be a way maybe to get the circuit look of the microchip to kind of work out. And I had jokingly brought up that maybe they should use LED lights in the court, and maybe it would make it pop out a little bit more. But yeah, no, it's going to be interesting if they actually do go ahead and use this design for next season. And I'm assuming for seasons for multiple years, right? So it would be weird to change a court and only use it for one season. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how they actually implement the court and make it stand out, because like you said, like I think like it was probably going to look better in the picture than it will on the court. So it'd be interesting to see how they try to like match it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how something like this would just happen. I mean, you know what? If they really want to commit, if they really want to do it, more power to them. I guess we're just gonna have to see.
Yep, we're gonna have to see. I'm happy. I'm graduating. I don't have to see what this court looks like, but I guess I could attend a game. When I see that the court is finally in, I'll probably check out a game just to see what the court's looking like.
That'll be interesting if we ever get on national television. If we ever host a top flight NCAA opponent, what that's going to look like on national television. But we'll have to see. Anyways, Alex McCreary, you can find this article on thespearscsu.com, And so go check it out. And we have more Spear content coming to you just a little bit later in the same podcast episode. One more week of Spear stories, taking you through the latest in San Jose State athletics.
Spartans can't snap losing streak against Tigers. The San Jose State women's softball team traveled to Stockton, California to face off against University of Pacific Tigers early Thursday evening. The first two innings were a defensive struggle, with both teams keeping the others scoreless. It wasn't until the top of the third inning that a member of the Spartans had their first monumental moment of the season. Junior catcher Trinity Edwards stepped up to home plate for the first time and hit her first home run of the season. In the end, the Spartans fell to the Tigers 3-2. Story by Autumn Blue.
Women's basketball names April Phillips as new head coach. San Jose State women's basketball has found its new leader after an extensive search that lasted just under 1 month. The athletic director Jeff Konya announced on Wednesday that April Phillips will be taking the reins as the new head coach of the program. Perhaps Phillips' extensive recruiting knowledge will help in solidifying the team for next season, with key players like Sydney Lewis and Atiana Golden departing the program. With plenty of time left before the start of the regular season, Phillips has time to assess the situation to determine what the next move for the team will be. Story by Ricardo Garcia. SJSU softball takes Game 1 against Nevada in a high-scoring shootout. The offense was clicking for San Jose State softball as it snapped a 3-game losing streak against the University of Nevada. The hero in this one was freshman first baseman Ashley Gord, who hit 2 home runs and totaled 5 RBIs. Spartan softball is back on the field at noon April 10th for Game 2 of that series against Nevada. Story by editor Max Bechtel. Softball falls in second game series to Nevada. San Jose State softball fell to Nevada on Saturday in the second game of their weekend series in another slugfest between the two teams. The Spartans dropped the second game of the series, however, 14-13. Runs, and more runs. That has been the theme since the series even started. Spartans dug themselves into a huge hole early in the second game and were down 7-0 after the first inning. Most teams would see this as an insurmountable lead to overcome. However, the Spartans did it and showed resilience. In a game that looked more like a football game in the final score, the Spartans weren't able to survive the offensive onslaught. SJSU will play the rubber match Sunday against the Wolfpack at 12 p.m. Story by Jose Garcia. Lawrence Fan, Celebration of Life. Lawrence Fan's Celebration of Life, an emotional tribute for an extraordinary person. Lawrence Fan's Celebration of Life felt like the world's greatest reunion. Before the event even took place, I was surrounded by the comforting voices of longtime friends saying hello. I haven't seen you in so long, and variations of it wrapped around Sefku Stadium like a warm blanket. That was the beauty of Lawrence. Rest was history. Each slice is an exercise in showing who Lawrence was, someone who would voluntarily help out others in the most unique and always uniting ways. Story by Matt Weiner. SJSU completes sweep of the struggling Aztecs. With the sunshine sprinkling in on a 66-degree afternoon at San Diego State's Tony Gwynn Stadium, the Spartans soundly completed their sweep of the Aztecs with a 7-3 victory Sunday. Fresh off back-to-back wins against SDSU, the blue and gold faced freshman pitcher Chris Canada, the right-hander currently rising up the ranks of the SDSU bullpen. It was not a great time to face him for the Spartans. The Spartans, however, increased to 18-15 overall and 9-6 in conference play. Good for third place in the Mountain West. They took the win, and their next game for SJSU will be on the road Thursday against 5 p.m.
Spartans beat Aztecs behind McAdoo's multi-homer game. San Jose State baseball captured a victory against rivals San Diego State on Friday night. The Spartans blanked the Aztecs 4-0 thanks to Charles McAdoo's scoring hot bat and stellar pitching by Jonathan Clark and Darren Jansen. McAdoo got things started for the Spartans in the first inning when he singled to center field. McAdoo capped off his spectacular night by hitting his second homer in the 7th inning. He certainly showcased why he belongs in the 3-hole in Coach Sanfilippo's lineup. With McAdoo reaching base safely once again, he's extended his on-base streak to 31 games, and he has hit in 28 of those games. Story by Jose Garcia. Water polo walloped by number 2 Stanford 15-5. San Jose State women's water polo lost to Stanford 15-5 in their final game of the regular season. By the end of the first period, the Spartans were down 5-1, and they could not seem to claw their way back into it. Despite 24 shots on goal, SJSU only converted on 5 of those attempts. On the flip side, Stanford scored 15 goals on 26 attempts. The Spartans finished their season 0-6 in conference play in what could have been their first conference win. SJSU will gear up for the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation Championship towards the end of April, where they can continue to compete. Story by Aiden Bostic. Spartans take a late lead and win 11-8. San Jose State beat San Diego State Saturday night 11-8. This was unexpected as the Spartans had a rough start. Sophomore Charles McAdoo set a new SJSU on-base record with 32 straight games, replacing the former 2018 record by Brett Bautista. Going into the 9th inning, it was where the Spartans began to turn the game around. Time was of the essence for the Spartans as Aztecs were seen to have the win in their hands. As many did not see coming, the Spartans skidded back into a surprising comeback. Spectators shared their regrets as SJSU picked up the anticipation for a possible win in the final innings of the game. Sophomore Robert Hamchuk tied the game with 2 RBI doubles. Their score of 8-4 in the 8th inning turned into a tie 8-8 in the top of the 9th. Scoring 4 times in the 9th, SJSU continued to score in extra innings. The score climbed up to a mind-boggling 10-8. Now SJSU will conclude their 3-game conference against SDSU on Sunday, April 10th at 1 p.m. Story by Zoma Kanahui. SJSU Beach Volleyball finishes its season in Sacramento. San Jose State Beach Volleyball finished its season strong this weekend on a road trip to Sacramento. The Spartans won both their duels against Boise State and host Sacramento State to finish their season 12-12, the 3rd time in program history finishing with a 500 or better record. While their season has ended, there are many highlights to look forward to next year. On paper, their 12-12 season finish doesn't seem the most appealing, but it included a plethora of close matches against nationally ranked schools such as Cal Poly, Long Beach, and Loyola Marymount. The Spartans will be losing 4 of their seniors next year, but this season can serve as a foundation for something special to come. Story by John Culbertson.
And that's all for San Jose State sports this week.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Spear Podcast. I am here with Ricardo Garcia, and we're going to be talking about women's soccer. So how are you doing, Ricardo?
Doing pretty good, man. Excited to be back on the pod to discuss some women's soccer this time. Just recently announced that they were going to be getting a new coach, but I think we'll dive into that sort of a little bit after. There is some other news that sort of dates back to February, which you touched on before we started. So yeah. I think, probably good to start with that. But yeah, I'm just excited to be back and chop it up.
So as we know, Lauren Hansen, she unexpectedly kind of departed and she's going on her own endeavors. And she really accomplished a lot ever since 2014 when she first came in. And she took women's soccer to 5 Mountain West tournaments, captured 2 Mountain West championships, and she won Mountain West Coach of the Year twice. Her overall record was 58, 51, and 24. And that would make her the, winningest coach of the program. So, I guess to start off, let's kind of talk about like what this, her leaving kind of means for the future for women's soccer.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think when the news dropped for me, as someone who kind of covered them steadily in my first year of doing the Spear, it was kind of unexpected because, we were talking about a coach at San Jose State that's, one of a slim number of coaches that have sort of had success with the program. So, it was kind of shocking, but I think with how sort of last season finished. It was a little lackluster. Maybe it wasn't a shocker to some people, but I think it's going to be a tough loss for this team moving forward. Obviously, she was an asset, a great coach, was able to have success with the program. But as I mentioned in that article that you're referencing, it's her. I think her biggest strength was just being able to develop players, right? Under her sort of how do I say this, mentorship, she was able to develop a lot of players. So I think that's something that hurts a program when you take that away. So like I said, it's going to be a tough loss, but I think it's something that sort of just needs to be put in the rearview mirror, and they need to look forward, and hopefully with the new replacement, they can find that same success, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think something that I actually don't even know. Well, why was it so unexpected that she ended up leaving?
I think she didn't really sort of. For me, it was more unexpected. For what I touched on, just that the success, but from what I gathered from her Twitter post, and sort of what she spoke on, she just seemed like she wanted to step away from coaching, and go into some other endeavors. So she did have a lot of coaching history, and sometimes burnout is a real thing. I'll say that, right? Burnout is a real thing, and so when you get to a point where you've done something for so long, so many times, you want to switch it up, and you want to sort of get something refreshing. So maybe I think that's what she wanted to do, but it was just unexpected, because for me, I was expecting it maybe a little further down the road, but she thought now was the right time, so she did what
Yeah,
she had.
yeah, right. So now going into the future, do we have is there a new head coach?
Yes.
Has that been
So
decided?
recently, it was announced that Tina Estrada, who was formerly an assistant coach under Lauren Hansen, would be taking over the program moving forward as the head coach. And this was something that it was sort of interesting, because I'm sure they sort of looked far and wide, and definitely consider options beyond locally, because Tina Estrada, she's local product, native of Fremont, played at Santa Clara University, but we'll touch it, get into that a little bit more here shortly. But I'm sure they look beyond the scope of just locally, but they decided to keep it local, and keep it not only local but within the program. So I think having someone who's familiar with sort of how they run things, and their style of play, is something that they took into consideration when choosing the replacement. So I think it's going to be interesting. Knowing that she's sort of experienced, and has coaching experience, and is familiar with the team, it'll be interesting to see sort of how they do moving forward. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely nice, having a coach that's obviously, grows up in San Jose State, so she's familiar with the area, but also, she's an assistant coach and she's getting promoted. So it's always nice to kind of have that experienced coach who already has, some relationship with the players. Is there any hurdles that maybe Ashad is going to have to come over to, get used to this head coaching job?
you know I, it, it could be building the team, continuing to build that team chemistry, because one thing that really sort of lacked with last year's team, that was something that they sort of made evident when I spoke to a couple of the players, was they were a young team, right? They were a young team, so they were still sort of trying to build that chemistry. And I'm not sure if in one season, which, like I said, 7-11, which not the best ending to a season. I'm not sure if that chemistry is fully there. So I think, going in, being a new coach, having a new team, and not fully having that chemistry developed, that could be something that still needs to be worked on, right, in year two. Because this is still, I mean, even though most of the, I have the roster pulled up here for this upcoming season, it's a lot of, seniors and juniors. I still don't think that the chemistry is there. So I think that might be something that needs to be addressed, moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of to go based off, you talked about you had the roster pulled up. what do you think it will take for Estrada to get that chemistry up? Do you think it's going to have to be communication with the star players of the team, the standouts on the team, and trying to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page? Who do you think is like, what players do you think are involved?
Yeah, so I think you sort of mentioned it already. I think it's going to be tapping into those superstar players. You have a lot of players that are returning, like Evan House, forward. Let's see, who else? We got goalkeeper Shayla Shugai. She's returning. All these players that sort of have that experience. At Taylor Phillips, yes, that was the other one. I couldn't see her picture, just her name, but yeah, Taylor Phillips. So you have all these players that are sort of dynamic and can really have the ability to lead a team and sort of be those shot callers. And I think building around sort of those players and sort of developing a system where they're able to sort of run the offense. Because last season I saw a couple of their games and witnessed that their offense can really be an issue when they're going. Like it's hard to keep up with the pace that they can get going on offense. So when they're hot, they can really do some damage. So I think it's going to be centered around those star players and sort of working off them and sort of allowing them to call shots and sort of run the offense. So yeah.
Yeah, so and right before we kind of get into the future, let's kind of just do a little recap about how the season ended. So women's soccer, they ended up going 7-11-1, and they missed out on the Mountain West tournament. What was kind of, the ups and downs of the seasons overall? And like, what do you, other than, the chemistry and team bonding, what do you think is kind of the main thing they should be focused on?
I think one of the biggest things was finishing. I think it's just well, two things mostly. Well, finishing is sort of the more minor one. I would say they just sort of ran out of gas in a lot of situations heading into that second half. Right, 2 halves of football, you start strong in that first half. You get to the second half, and you're kind of you're fatigued a little bit. It's starting to kick in, and it showed at times against some opponents. So I think really making sure that you're playing all the way through. You're able to sort of keep the pace for the entire time of the game is very crucial. So that's one thing. But also, I would say another one would be conference play. Conference play is I can't stress this enough. I've said it on a previous podcast, but conference play is where you need to be playing your best, right? These are, this is your conference. So I can't stress that enough here. They finished, let's see, what was it, 4-6-1, which is not the best, but to end the season with the three game losing streak against UNLV, Nevada, and Fresno State. It's just that needs to be improved, right? You need to be playing, like I said, your best soccer against conference opponents. So I think if they're able to sort of in that second half of the season, I think also is where they start to sort of sputter a little bit. If they could finish strong and are able to sort of establish a position to get a good seeding in that tournament, I think they can make a run. And I think this team definitely has the potential to sort of make it there. But there are some things that need to be worked on. And, hopefully with the new coach, that can sort of be, an aid to get them where they need to be.
And with all that being said, what should we expect from women's soccer, and what are kind of your predictions coming into going into next season?
It's very hard to say right now. Anytime you introduce a new coach to a program, it could be difficult, right? We saw it with Tim Miles and basketball, and so it's hard to judge. But I think it's a toss up. We could see a slow start early on, but I don't believe. Having a coach, like I said, with the experience and the knowledge that she has and sort of being around this team that for as long as she has been as an assistant coach, I just don't expect them to out the bat have a sluggish start. That they know, I'm pretty sure what they're capable of, and sort of they've been in situations before starting the season strong. So, I don't expect a sluggish start from them. But I think the focus is going to be on that, like I said, that second half of the season, how they finish. If if they're going to be in shape to sort of continue that good start, if they're able to get a good start throughout the entire season. So I think that's what's going to be focused on the most.
Well, thank you so much, Ricardo, for giving us insight on the past, present, and future of women's soccer. Is there anything else that you would kind of want to add, if that's something that we didn't really talk about yet?
I think we covered everything, but definitely watch out for the season. I think it's going to be an interesting season, to say the least. With a lot of sports, at San Jose State, there's been a lot of shifting, and so it's now, I feel like, is any good time to definitely keep an eye out on this team, and see what they do come the start of the season. So
where can people follow you at on Twitter?
Check me out on Twitter, SJSU Ricardo G. Check out some of our stories. We are currently in our next magazine phase, but it's still a little on the low. So just check out our stories. We should be having a couple features going up soon. So yeah, check that out. Check out thespear.com and share our stuff. Support us and support Alex on Twitter and the Spear. And appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ricardo.
Oh, no problem.